Most people assume that the fatigue, slower recovery, and diminishing vitality that come with age are simply inevitable. You eat well, you stay active, you take your vitamins, and yet something still feels off. Energy drops earlier in the day. Sleep feels less restorative. The body takes longer to bounce back from minor stresses. Here is the counterintuitive insight. The real issue may not be what you are eating, but when you are eating it, and whether those foods contain the specific compounds your cells need to produce energy at the molecular level. There is a molecule inside every cell of your body called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, often abbreviated as NAD+. It is one of the most critical molecules for cellular energy, DNA repair, and the activation of longevity pathways. And here is what most people never hear. NAD+ levels decline significantly with age. By the time a woman reaches her 60s, she may have lost 50% or more of the NAD+ she had in her 20s. This decline is not just a number on a lab report. It translates directly into reduced mitochondrial function, impaired tissue repair, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. Here is what the research shows. Scientists studying aging biology have identified NAD+ as a central player in how cells generate energy, how DNA damage is repaired overnight, and how longevity genes called sirtuins are activated. When NAD+ is abundant, these systems work efficiently. When it drops, the entire repair and energy network slows down. The fascinating part is that your body can rebuild NAD+, but it requires specific precursors, and the timing of when those precursors arrive matters enormously. Nighttime, when the body shifts into repair mode, is one of the most critical windows. What you eat in the hours before sleep can either fuel this regeneration process or leave your cells without the raw materials they need. In this talk, we will explore 3 specific foods that research shows can support NAD+ production when consumed before bed. These are not exotic supplements or expensive interventions. They are accessible, natural foods that deliver the biochemical building blocks your cells are waiting for. You will learn why NAD+ matters so much for aging, how your body creates it, and how to use evening nutrition strategically to support energy, repair, and resilience well into your later decades. To understand why these 3 foods are so powerful, we first need to explore what NAD+ actually does inside your cells and why its decline creates such profound effects on aging. NAD+ is not a vitamin or a mineral. It is a coenzyme, a helper molecule that enables hundreds of critical reactions in every cell of your body. Without adequate NAD+, your mitochondria, the energy factories inside your cells, cannot efficiently convert food into usable energy. Your DNA repair enzymes cannot function properly, and a family of proteins called sirtuins, which regulate aging, inflammation, and cellular stress responses, remain inactive. Think of NAD+ as the electricity running through a building, the lights, elevators, heating systems, and security cameras. All depend on that power supply. When the power is strong, everything runs smoothly. When it dims, systems start failing one by one, not dramatically at first, but gradually in ways that accumulate over time. Here is what the research shows. Studies published in journals of cellular metabolism and aging biology have documented that NAD+ levels drop by as much as 50% between young adulthood and the 60s. This decline correlates directly with reduced mitochondrial function, increased inflammation, impaired muscle recovery, and cognitive changes. What is happening in your body when NAD+ falls is not a single failure. It is a cascade. Mitochondria produce less ATP, the energy currency of cells. Sirtuins, which depend on NAD+ to function, become less active, meaning the genes that protect against aging and disease are not being turned on as effectively. DNA damage accumulates faster because the repair enzymes that require NAD+ cannot keep up. This creates a feedback loop. Lower NAD+ leads to more cellular damage, which further depletes NAD+, which accelerates aging. Have you noticed that recovery from physical activity, illness, or even a poor night of sleep takes longer than it used to? This is often a sign of declining NAD+ levels. The repair systems that once worked overnight are now operating at reduced capacity. Senior women frequently describe this experience without understanding its cellular origin. The body still wants to heal, still wants to regenerate, still wants to maintain itself. But the molecular fuel that powers these processes has become scarce. Here is what the research shows about the specific functions that suffer when NAD+ declines. First, mitochondrial efficiency drops. Your mitochondria require NAD+ to complete the electron transport chain. The final stage of energy production, when NAD+ is limited, ATP output falls, and you feel it as fatigue, mental fog, and reduced physical stamina. Second, DNA repair slows dramatically. An enzyme called PARP, poly-ADP ribose polymerase, uses NAD+ to repair breaks in DNA that occur daily from normal cellular activity. When NAD+ is insufficient, DNA damage accumulates, accelerating the aging process and increasing disease risk. Third, sirtuin activity declines. Sirtuins are sometimes called longevity enzymes because of their role in regulating metabolism, reducing inflammation, and protecting against age-related diseases. They are completely dependent on NAD+ to function. Without adequate NAD+, sirtuins remain inactive regardless of how healthy your lifestyle might otherwise be. The good news, supported by extensive research, is that NAD+ can be replenished. Your body synthesizes it from precursors found in food through multiple metabolic pathways. The salvage pathway recycles NAD+ components that have already been used. The Prius handler pathway converts niacin into NAD+, and the de novo pathway builds NAD+ from scratch using the amino acid tryptophan. Each pathway has different requirements and responds to different nutritional inputs. The key is ensuring those precursors are available at the right time, particularly during the nighttime hours when cellular repair peaks. Understanding this biology transforms how you think about evening nutrition. You are not just eating to satisfy hunger. You are providing the raw materials for overnight regeneration, targeting the very molecule that powers your cellular machinery. This is precision nutrition, using specific compounds at specific times to achieve specific biological outcomes. Many women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s have heard about NAD+ and may even take supplements designed to boost it. Others focus on eating healthy foods throughout the day, assuming that general good nutrition is enough to support cellular energy. Here is where the common approach falls short. Random healthy eating, even when nutrient-dense, does not necessarily deliver NAD+ precursors at the time when your body most needs them. And many supplements, while potentially helpful, miss the synergistic effects that whole foods provide. What is happening in your body during the evening and overnight hours is fundamentally different from daytime metabolism. As you transition towards sleep, growth hormone release increases, cortisol levels drop, and cellular repair processes activate. This is the window when NAD+ dependent enzymes are most active. If the precursors are not circulating in your bloodstream during this time, the repair machinery runs without fuel. Here is what the research shows. Studies on circadian biology demonstrate that NAD+ levels themselves fluctuate throughout the day, with synthesis and utilization patterns tied to sleep-wake cycles. Scientists at institutions studying aging have found that providing NAD+ precursors in the evening aligns with the body's natural repair rhythm daytime intake. While not harmful, may be less efficient because the body is in activity mode rather than repair mode. Think of it like scheduling construction work on a busy highway. Trying to repave the road during rush hour traffic creates problems. But doing the work overnight when traffic is minimal allows for efficient, uninterrupted progress. Your cells operate similarly. Nighttime is when the heavy repair work happens. Providing the building materials before that window opens ensures the work can proceed. Another limitation of the current approach is that many people focus on single nutrients, rather than the full spectrum of compounds that support NAD+ metabolism. NAD plus is synthesized through multiple pathways in the body, including the salvage pathway, which recycles NAD plus components, and de novo synthesis, which builds it from scratch using amino acids like tryptophan. Different foods support different pathways. A truly effective strategy combines foods that address multiple routes of NAD plus production, while also supporting the cofactors and enzymes involved. Have you noticed that taking a single supplement often produces underwhelming results? This is frequently because the broader biochemical environment is not being addressed. Whole foods provide not just the primary precursor, but also the supporting nutrients that make the entire system work more efficiently. There is another factor that many women overlook entirely. The efficiency of NAD plus synthesis depends on the health of your gut microbiome. Research in nutritional biochemistry shows that certain gut bacteria help convert dietary precursors into forms the body can absorb and use. When the microbiome is compromised through poor diet, antibiotic use, or chronic stress, NAD plus synthesis from food becomes less efficient. This is why two women eating identical foods might experience different results. The internal processing machinery varies whole foods with their fiber content and diverse nutrient profiles. Support gut health in ways that isolated supplements cannot. This creates a positive feedback loop where the foods that boost NAD+ also improve the body's capacity to absorb and utilize future NAD+ precursors. Additionally, many women are unknowingly consuming foods in the evening that actively deplete NAD+. Alcohol, for example, dramatically increases NAD+ consumption in the liver as the body works to metabolize it. A glass of wine with dinner might seem harmless, but it creates a direct competition for the NAD+ your cells need for overnight repair. Refined sugars and processed carbohydrates spike insulin, which shifts metabolism away from fat oxidation and repair towards storage and growth. Understanding what to avoid is as important as knowing what to consume. The evening hours should be a protected window where NAD+ precursors can do their work without interference from competing metabolic demands. The first food that powerfully supports nighttime NAD+ production is fatty fish, particularly salmon, mackerel, or sardines. These fish are rich in niacin, also known as vitamin B3, which is one of the most direct precursors to NAD+ in the human body. Niacin enters cells and is converted through a series of enzymatic steps into NAD+, replenishing the cellular supply that fuels mitochondria and activates sirtuins. Here is what the research shows. Studies in nutritional biochemistry confirm that niacin supplementation increases NAD+ levels in tissues, but whole food sources like fatty fish provide additional benefits that isolated supplements cannot match. Fatty fish deliver omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and protect mitochondrial membranes. They provide high-quality protein, supplying amino acids that support muscle repair during sleep. And they contain other B vitamins that work as cofactors in NAD+ metabolism. What is happening in your body when you consume fatty fish in the evening is a coordinated nutritional response. The niacin begins converting to NAD+. The omega-3 fatty acids calm inflammatory pathways that otherwise interfere with cellular repair. The protein delivers amino acids gradually through the night, supporting tissue regeneration without spiking insulin. A simple tool to apply is to include a modest portion of fatty fish, approximately 3 to 4 ounces, as part of your evening meal 2 to 3 times per week. If you eat dinner earlier, a small portion closer to bedtime can still be effective. The key is consistency over time. NAD+ support is cumulative. Regular intake of niacin-rich foods creates a sustained improvement in cellular energy capacity. Think of fatty fish as delivering fuel directly to your mitochondria during the hours when they are working hardest to repair and regenerate. The omega-3 component simultaneously protects those mitochondria from oxidative damage, creating a dual benefit that single nutrient supplements cannot replicate. Here is an additional insight that research in nutritional dermatology reveals. The omega-3 fatty acids in fatty fish reduce the expression of enzymes that break down collagen. This means that while niacin is boosting NAD plus for cellular energy, the omega-3s are protecting the structural proteins that keep skin firm and resilient. For senior women concerned about both energy and appearance, fatty fish addresses both concerns through complementary mechanisms. The protein content also matters. Fish protein is highly bioavailable and contains amino acids that support not just muscle maintenance, but also the synthesis of other proteins throughout the body. Have you noticed that populations with high fish consumption, such as those in Japan and the Mediterranean, often show markers of healthier aging? Epidemiological studies consistently link regular fatty fish intake to lower rates of age-related diseases and better cognitive function in later decades. While many factors contribute to these outcomes, the NAD plus supporting and anti-inflammatory properties of fatty fish are increasingly recognized as significant contributors. The second food that research highlights for NAD plus support is edamame, the young green soybean that has become increasingly available in grocery stores and restaurants. Edamame contains a compound called nicotinamide mononucleotide, abbreviated as NMN, which is a direct and highly efficient precursor to NAD+. NMN bypasses some of the rate-limiting steps in NAD+ synthesis, making it one of the most direct routes to boosting cellular levels. Here is what the research shows. Studies published in journals of cell metabolism and aging research have demonstrated that NMN supplementation in animals significantly increases NAD+ levels in multiple tissues, including muscle, brain, and liver. Human trials are ongoing, but early results suggest similar benefits. What makes edamame particularly valuable is that it provides NMN in a whole food matrix, accompanied by plant protein, fiber, and isoflavones that support hormonal balance in postmenopausal women. What is happening in your body when you consume edamame before bed is that the NMN is absorbed through the digestive system, enters circulation, and is taken up by cells where it is converted to NAD+ in a single enzymatic step. This efficiency means that even modest amounts of edamame can contribute meaningfully to your NAD+ pool. The plant protein in edamame also digests, slowly providing a steady release of amino acids through the night, without the heaviness of a large meat-based meal. A simple tool to apply is to include half a cup to 1 cup of edamame as an evening snack, or incorporate it into a light dinner. Many women find that edamame with a light seasoning of sea salt or a squeeze of lemon makes a satisfying pre-sleep snack that does not cause digestive discomfort. The fiber content supports gut health, and the isoflavones may provide additional benefits for bone density and cardiovascular health, areas of particular importance for senior women. Have you noticed that plant-based proteins often leave you feeling lighter, yet still satisfied? This is the ideal state for evening eating. You want enough nutrition to fuel overnight repair without the metabolic burden of heavy digestion, competing with cellular regeneration. Here is what the research shows about the unique advantages of edamame for postmenopausal women. The isoflavones in soy act as phytoestrogens, plant compounds that can weakly bind to estrogen receptors. While this effect is much gentler than hormone replacement, studies suggest it may help mitigate some of the cellular changes that occur when estrogen declines. Since estrogen loss accelerates NAD+ depletion in certain tissues, the combination of NMN precursors and phytoestrogen support in edamame addresses aging biology from 2 angles simultaneously. The magnesium content of edamame deserves mention as well. Magnesium is a critical cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including many involved in energy metabolism. Research shows that magnesium deficiency is common in older adults and correlates with faster biological aging. By providing both NMN and magnesium, edamame supports NAD+ production, while ensuring the enzymes that use NAD+ have the cofactors they need to function optimally. Think of edamame as a precision tool for evening nutrition. It is light enough not to burden digestion, rich enough in specific compounds to support cellular regeneration, and versatile enough to fit into various eating patterns. Whether you enjoy it warm or chilled, as a standalone snack or part of a composed meal, it delivers consistent NAD+ supporting benefits. The third food in this NAD+ supporting trio is tart cherries, either as whole fruit or as unsweetened tart cherry juice. Tart cherries work through a different mechanism than the first two foods. Rather than providing direct NAD+ precursors, they activate the sirtuin pathway and support the enzymes that utilize NAD+ for longevity and repair functions. Here is what the research shows. Tart cherries contain high concentrations of anthocyanins and other polyphenols that have been shown in multiple studies to activate sirtuin-1, the most studied longevity-associated sirtuin. When sirtuins are activated, they use NAD+ more efficiently, creating a cellular environment where the available NAD+ produces greater biological benefit. Additionally, tart cherries contain natural melatonin, which supports sleep quality. Better sleep means more time in the deep sleep stages where repair processes peak. Studies published in journals of sleep research have documented improved sleep duration and quality in adults consuming tart cherry juice with measurable increases in melatonin levels. What is happening in your body when you consume tart cherries in the evening is a synergistic effect. The polyphenols activate sirtuin pathways, effectively turning up the volume on your longevity genes. The natural melatonin supports the transition into restorative sleep, and the anthocyanins provide potent antioxidant protection, reducing the oxidative stress that otherwise depletes NAD+. Think of tart cherries as the amplifier in a sound system. The fatty fish and edamame provide the NAD+ signal. The tart cherries amplify that signal by activating the cellular machinery that responds to NAD+. Together, they create a more powerful effect than any single food could achieve alone. A simple tool to apply is to consume 1 ounce of unsweetened tart cherry juice, or a small handful of dried tart cherries, approximately 60 to 90 minutes before bed. This timing allows the melatonin to begin its effects as you approach sleep, while the polyphenols circulate to activate sirtuins. Be sure to choose unsweetened versions, as added sugar would spike insulin and potentially interfere with the nighttime repair window. Here is what the research shows about the specific mechanisms of tart cherry polyphenols. Anthocyanins, the compounds that give tart cherries their deep red color, have been demonstrated in laboratory studies to reduce activity of enzymes that degrade NAD+. This means tart cherries not only help you use NAD+ more effectively through sirtuin activation, but also help preserve your existing NAD+ pool. The anti-inflammatory properties of these compounds reduce the burden on cellular repair systems, leaving more NAD+ available for regenerative processes. Studies published in the Journal of Medicinal Food and the British Journal of Sports Medicine have documented that tart cherry consumption reduces markers of oxidative stress and inflammation in adults. While much of this research has focused on athletes recovering from intense exercise, the underlying biology applies equally to senior women whose cells face ongoing repair demands. Reduced inflammation means less NAD+ consumption by stress response pathways, leaving more available for mitochondria and sirtuins. Have you noticed that you sleep more soundly on some nights than others? With no obvious explanation, subtle differences in evening nutrition often play a role. The natural melatonin in tart cherries provides a gentle signal to your brain that sleep time is approaching. Unlike synthetic melatonin supplements, which can sometimes cause grogginess, the naturally occurring melatonin in tart cherries is present in amounts that support rather than override your body's own sleep architecture. This means you get the benefit of easier sleep onset without the disruption of artificially elevated hormone levels. Think of tart cherries as completing the NAD+ support triangle. Fatty fish provides the niacin building block. Edamame provides the NMN precursor. And tart cherries optimize how your body uses and preserves its NAD+ through sirtuin activation and protective antioxidant effects. Each food addresses a different aspect of NAD+ biology, creating comprehensive support that single nutrient approaches cannot match. Now that you understand which foods support NAD+ and why they work, the critical question becomes how to combine them into a practical evening protocol. Timing, portion size, and sequence all influence how effectively these foods support overnight cellular regeneration. The goal is to provide NAD plus precursors and sirtuin activators without creating digestive burden or metabolic interference. Here is what the research shows. Studies on nutrient timing demonstrate that consuming supportive foods approximately 2 to 3 hours before sleep allows for adequate digestion while ensuring that the active compounds are circulating during the peak repair window. Eating too close to bedtime can disrupt sleep quality as the body diverts energy toward digestion. Eating too early means the precursors may be metabolized before the overnight repair window fully opens. A practical evening protocol follows this framework. Begin with a light dinner that includes fatty fish 2 to 3 times per week. A 3 to 4 ounce portion of salmon or mackerel paired with vegetables and a small amount of complex carbohydrates provides niacin and omega-3 fatty acids without heaviness. On evenings, when you are not having fish, include other niacin-containing foods like chicken or mushrooms. About 1 to 2 hours before bed, have a small snack that includes half a cup of edamame. This delivers NMN and plant protein without the volume that would cause discomfort when lying down. The edamame can be combined with the tart cherries for convenience, creating a simple 2-component pre-sleep ritual, approximately 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Consume your tart cherry serving either as juice or whole dried cherries. This timing aligns the melatonin and polyphenol delivery with your body's natural transition towards sleep. What is happening in your body when you follow this sequence is a coordinated nutritional support system. The niacin from dinner has begun converting to NAD+. The NMN from edamame enters circulation and provides efficient NAD+ synthesis. The tart cherry polyphenols activate sirtuins to amplify the effect, while the natural melatonin supports deep, restorative sleep. Together, these elements create an internal environment optimized for overnight regeneration. A simple tool to apply is keeping the portions modest. You are feeding your cells, not filling your stomach. The body responds to precise signals, not large volumes. Think of it like adding the right fuel additive to an engine, rather than simply filling the tank to overflowing. Consistency matters more than any single perfect evening. Research in behavioral nutrition shows that the cumulative effect of regular supportive eating produces greater results than occasional large doses. To maximize the NAD plus boosting effects of these foods, several lifestyle factors must work in harmony. Nutrition is powerful, but it operates within a broader biological context. Sleep quality, stress levels, and physical activity all influence how effectively your body can utilize NAD plus precursors and activate longevity pathways. Here is what the research shows. Studies on circadian biology demonstrate that NAD plus synthesis follows a daily rhythm tied to your sleep-wake cycle. Disrupted sleep, whether from poor sleep hygiene, stress, or irregular schedules, interferes with this rhythm and reduces the effectiveness of nutritional interventions. The foods can only do their work if the body is in the right metabolic state to receive them. Sleep quality is perhaps the most critical amplifying factor. Deep sleep stages, particularly slow-wave sleep, are when growth hormone peaks and cellular repair processes are most active. If you are getting adequate hours but not reaching deep sleep, the overnight repair window remains partially closed. A simple tool to apply is creating a sleep environment that supports deep rest. Dim lights in the evening, reduce screen exposure in the hour before bed, keep the bedroom cool, and maintain a consistent sleep schedule. These environmental factors help your nervous system transition into the parasympathetic state, where repair can occur. Stress management directly influences NAD plus utilization. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which not only suppresses repair processes, but also increases the consumption of NAD plus by enzymes that respond to cellular stress. In other words, stress both increases your need for NAD plus and interferes with your ability to use it efficiently. What is happening in your body when stress is chronically elevated is a competition for NAD plus. Stress response enzymes consume the NAD plus that would otherwise be available for sirtuins and mitochondrial function. This is why some women notice that periods of high stress accelerate visible aging. The cellular repair systems are being outcompeted for resources. Have you noticed that your skin, energy, and recovery all suffer during prolonged stressful periods? Then improve when calm returns. This is the stress NAD plus connection in action. A simple tool to apply is incorporating a brief calming practice in the evening before consuming your pre-sleep foods. Even 5 minutes of slow breathing, gentle stretching, or quiet sitting can shift your nervous system toward parasympathetic dominance. This shift reduces cortisol and creates the internal environment where NAD+ can be directed toward repair rather than stress response. Physical activity also plays a supporting role. Research shows that regular exercise increases NAD+ levels and improves mitochondrial function. However, intense exercise close to bedtime can elevate cortisol and interfere with sleep. The optimal pattern for senior women is moderate activity earlier in the day, which enhances NAD+ metabolism, followed by calming evening routines that prepare the body for restorative sleep. Understanding the science behind these foods is valuable, but lasting change requires behavioral strategies that make the protocol sustainable. Many women begin new health routines with enthusiasm, only to find themselves drifting away after days or weeks. This drift is not a failure of willpower. It is a predictable outcome when habits are not anchored to stable cues in daily life. Here is what the research shows. Behavioral psychology identifies 3 elements that determine whether a new behavior becomes automatic: motivation, ability, and prompts. Motivation fluctuates naturally. Ability is determined by how simple the action is. Prompts are the environmental cues that trigger the behavior for a new routine to last. It must be easy to perform and connected to something you already do consistently. A powerful tool to apply is habit stacking, attaching the new NAD+ supporting foods to an existing evening ritual. For example, if you already prepare herbal tea before bed, the edamame and tart cherries can become part of that ritual. If you watch a favorite program in the evening, the snack can accompany that activity. The goal is to eliminate the need for daily decision-making. When the prompt occurs, the behavior follows automatically. Reducing friction is equally important. Keep edamame easily accessible in your freezer, pre-portioned for quick preparation. Keep tart cherry juice or dried cherries in a visible location. The fewer steps required, the more likely you are to follow through on challenging days. What is happening at the behavioral level when you reduce friction is that you are removing the cognitive load that otherwise depletes willpower. Every extra step, every decision point, creates an opportunity for the routine to break down. Simplicity protects consistency. The emotional meaning of the routine also matters. Studies in health psychology show that when a behavior is connected to identity and self-care, adherence increases. Frame this evening protocol not as a chore, but as an act of cellular nourishment, a daily investment in your energy, resilience, and longevity. When the routine feels meaningful, your brain treats it as important and protects it from competing demands. Have you noticed that the habits you maintain long-term are usually the ones that feel connected to who you are? This is why it helps to view these foods as gifts to your future self, support for the vitality you want to maintain in the years ahead. Tracking subtle changes reinforces the habit loop. Keep a simple journal noting energy levels, sleep quality, and how you feel upon waking. Over weeks, patterns emerge that validate the effort. This feedback creates a reward signal that strengthens the behavior. Progress fuels momentum. Momentum fuels consistency. And consistency produces the cellular changes that translate into lasting improvements in energy and resilience. When we bring together everything explored in this talk, a clear and empowering principle emerges. Aging at the cellular level is not fixed or inevitable. It is responsive to the signals you provide. NAD+, the molecule at the center of energy production and repair, can be supported through targeted nutrition, and the timing of that nutrition, particularly in the hours before sleep, aligns with your body's natural regeneration rhythms. The 3 foods we explored: fatty fish, edamame, and tart cherries, Each contribute to NAD plus support through different pathways. Fatty fish provides niacin, a direct NAD plus precursor, along with omega-3 fatty acids that protect mitochondrial membranes. Edamame delivers NMN, one of the most efficient NAD plus building blocks in a whole food form that includes plant protein and beneficial isoflavones. Tart cherries activate sirtuin pathways that amplify NAD plus utilization while providing natural melatonin to support restorative sleep. Combined and timed appropriately, these foods create a synergistic effect that exceeds what any single intervention could achieve. You also learn that lifestyle factors, sleep quality, stress management, and physical activity amplify or diminish the benefits of nutritional support. The foods can only reach their full potential when the body is in a state conducive to repair. Evening calm, consistent sleep schedules, and parasympathetic activation create the environment where NAD plus boosting nutrition translates into cellular regeneration. The behavioral dimension is equally important. Sustainable change comes not from willpower, but from well-designed habits. Anchoring these foods to existing rituals, reducing friction, and connecting the practice to personal meaning creates routines that last. Small, consistent actions compound over weeks and months into measurable improvements in energy, recovery, and resilience. Here is a simple challenge to begin tonight. Choose one of the 3 foods and incorporate it into your evening routine. If you have salmon in your refrigerator, prepare it for dinner. If you have edamame, enjoy a small portion as an evening snack. If you have tart cherry juice, drink an ounce before bed. Start with one food, experience its effects, then gradually add the others as the routine becomes natural. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. The deeper truth revealed by NAD plus research is that your cells are always listening. They respond to the compounds you provide, the timing of those compounds, and the metabolic state of your body when they arrive. Aging may shift the baseline, but it does not eliminate the capacity for regeneration. When you speak to your cells in the language they understand, providing the right precursors at the right time in the right environment, they respond with renewed energy and repair. Your body is not failing as you age. It is waiting for different instructions. The instructions that worked in your 20s are no longer sufficient. But when you update your approach to match your current biology, remarkable improvements become possible. Firmer energy through the day, more restorative sleep, faster recovery from challenges, a sense of vitality that reminds you how much potential still exists. If this guidance has provided clarity and practical tools you can apply, I invite you to like this video and share it with someone who could benefit. Leave a comment about which food you plan to try first or which insight resonated most. And consider subscribing to join a community dedicated to using science not for hype, but for lasting improvement in health, energy, and quality of life. Your mitochondria are waiting, your sirtuins are ready to activate. Tonight is an opportunity to give them exactly what they need: